Shahid Buttar got an unexpected endorsement in his bid against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Marianne Williamson herself. Let's take a listen.
And so in this election, I feel that we need to do everything possible to make a strong stand for those of us who've been Democrats, for those of us who are Democrats. We need to take a strong stand for the progressive vision that many of us feel is absolutely essential, not only for the future of our country, but also for this next election. And as a consequence, I am now endorsing Shahid Buttar for the seat, the congressional seat in the San Francisco district where Nancy Pelosi now serves. So I hope you'll check out Shahid Buttar, because I think he's worthy of our support. He's a perfect challenger for Nancy. I think this is good for Nancy. It's definitely taking a stand for something.
Perfect challenger. I mean, It's a big deal to come out explicitly for Nancy Pelosi's challenger. Of course, we've had Shahid here on the show. He has gone after her for the inadequacy of the economic relief, in particular, in coronavirus.
On Tara Reid.
He's gone on Tara Reid. He's gone after her. Also on something we talk about here, which is like Democratic leadership likes to talk a big game in terms of resistance while actually handing Donald Trump lots of power and going along with the bipartisan consensus that exists here in Washington. So I thought it was pretty interesting that Marianne decided to. I'm biased. I know Marianne. Yeah. I like Marianne, but I thought it was pretty interesting that she jumped in there for him.
She won me over with dark psychic force. I've always liked Marianne Williamson. I do think it is a big deal. It just goes to show you, though, that she's the only Democratic, high-profile person really to come out and just outright endorse him, because it just goes to show how much power Pelosi has within the party. It's almost like a McConnell-like figure where, look, I mean, all the progressive leftists who would come on this show that we'll talk to, they all hate Nancy Pelosi, but none of them really go out and say it, or very few have the courage to actually do so. So for her to do that is quite a big deal, especially in that campaign, given what's going on right now. You can see beginning the splinters of what's happening, but there's no secret, and there's a reason that only Marianne Williamson has been the one who's been willing to do this, even though so many people in Congress would love to see her go on the Democratic side. But none of them will ever say it.
Right. And I think it's a couple things. One, obvious, Marianne Williamson isn't here. She isn't elected. She's not dependent on Nancy Pelosi for a committee assignment. Like, she's an actual outsider in the truest sense of the word. Like, she is outside of that whole system and structure. So she has nothing to lose there. I don't know if I would say that the more leftists in Congress hate Nancy Pelosi. I would say they disagree with her ideologically, but it's that whole human-to-human dynamic where she's very savvy about cultivating relationships and bringing people in. I mean, that is part of the secret to her power and how she is able to do basically whatever she wants within the caucus, which was on full display last week when you finally had progressives kind of stand up and say, oh, we're not happy about what's going on here. Will you hold the vote? Let's wait a week. She was like, no, we're not waiting a week. No, I'm not giving you what you want. And yes, you are all, except for one, going to end up voting for it anyway. Part of how she's able to pull that off is because she does cultivate these sort of relationship dynamics and basically weaponize people's like human kindness and reciprocity against them. It's true.
Yeah.
And so if you're not existing in that system, it gives you a lot more freedom to ultimately critique, to ultimately, back a challenger in a way that even though you're not within that system, it's still brave, because if Marianne Williamson wants to do anything in politics moving forward, do you think that Nancy Pelosi is going to pick up her calls? Do you think that anyone will? Because Nancy will say, no, she's on the outs. We're not going to deal with her anymore. So there you go.
It's very important.
Very interesting. Tomorrow on Rising, Joe Biden said he wants to have an FDR presidency. Well, Professor Harvey J.K. is going to weigh in on the likelihood of that actually happening.
Right, and the DC bureau chiefs of The Intercept, Ryan Grimm, is going to join us. Please, guys, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe here as well, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Have a great day, guys.